So check out this revelation. Now, previously, I showed you how Pope Francis fulfills the book of Revelation, chapter 17, verse 11. He's the 8th king. But I also showed you how that teaches us that we need to look at the book of Revelation differently, not in chronological order through the chapters. Rather, chapter 17 is moved way ahead, seeing that we see that it's happening now as we speak, giving us a new understanding and a new perspective of how we should approach the book of Revelation. So today you're going to learn how we should look at the book of Revelation, since the Holy Spirit has taught us, giving us this new revelation, this new wine for this new wineskin, moving chapter 17 up ahead, seeing that it's happening now as we speak. How should we look at it? That's what we're going to discuss today. How should we interpret and follow the sequence of time in the book of Revelation? Stay tuned. You don't want to miss this. Hey, I'm Washington Brooks, and welcome to the Revelation Christian. And I try to help Christians understand the book of Revelation as it pertains to people and events that are happening today, right before our eyes, in order to prepare us all for Jesus' second coming. So I'm sure you've seen so many videos on this topic, but here's my proof of prophecy so that you don't have any doubt. Well, on June 27, per the teaching of the Holy Spirit, I posted a video showing who I believe the future antichrist and the future false prophet will be: Princess Ben Talal of Jordan and Pope Francis. And I said, watch for these two for me, because before they go do their prophesied catastrophe, before they go do what the Bible said they're going to do, they got to meet at some point. So I posted on that video June 27, watch for these two to meet. And per the teaching of the Holy Spirit, just as I said, just as I posted, they met 3 months later, September 4th. So what the Holy Spirit taught that I said came to pass, so that you and I and all who watch this can see we are living in that time. We are seeing the preparation of the events of the book of Revelation unfolding right before our eyes. But if that eases your concern and that eases your doubt, then you need to pay attention to the next prophecy, which is Revelation 17:12, which is the rise of these 10 kings. So watch for Queen Elizabeth of the UK to be replaced by a king. Watch for Queen of Denmark to be replaced by a king. Watch for these two queens and them to be replaced by kings, in which that will then set in motion the next prophecy, Revelation 17:12, the rise of the 10 kings. And if you want to keep in touch with me and join the community of Revelation Christians, I highly recommend you visit my website, revelationchristian.com. And if you definitely want to support what I do, if you move by the Holy Spirit, but move by God to be a cheerful giver, you can see details below in the description, how you might want to support what I do, donations or apparel with Book of Revelation themes. You can find all types of things in my store that will support what I do. Thank you so much, and I do appreciate your support. So let's see what the Holy Spirit has to teach us today. So in the previous video, I discussed the timing of the book of Revelation, based or centered around the concept of the pre-trib doctrine, which indicates that everyone should be raptured by chapter 4. If you're reading the book of Revelation in chronological order per the chapters, then you will see that, or by the doctrine, indicates that everyone should be raptured by chapter 4, thereby not seeing any other events that happens after chapter 4, because everyone will be raptured by chapter 4. However, the video that I did debunks that. And as it did debunk the pre-trib doctrine, seeing that we see Revelation 17 happening now, the question now is, well, then how do we understand the timing and the events of the book of Revelation? Seeing that the Holy Spirit has given us new revelation, new wine for our new wineskin, because he's pouring something new into us, but we need to have a new wineskin to accept it. Because again, as Jesus taught, if we bring old wineskin with new wine pouring in, they won't stay. One's going to give in to the other, but they both will be destroyed. So we need a new mindset to accept this new wine that the Lord Holy Spirit is giving us. So let's pick up where we left off, so we could try to explain, so we could try to understand how should we understand the timing and the sequence of the book of Revelation now, since we see something totally new that's outside the scope of the traditional perspective of the timing of the book of Revelation, specifically the pre-trib doctrine. So let's take a look. So how do we understand the timing of the book of Revelation? Well, we first realize that Revelation 17:10, the verse that states, the other, who's the number 7, the 7th, will be there for a short time, the 7th king. And this prophecy was fulfilled in February 2013, when Pope Benedict resigned, which broke a 600 or 700 year tradition, because most popes go to their positions to die, but Pope Benedict resigned, and as a result, this fulfilled the prophecy where he will be there for a short time, the king will be there for a short time. And as a result of him leaving, The next prophecy, which was verse 11, says the beast of the sea, because this chapter 17 is talking about a beast of the sea, which you can see in this graphic here. And it says that he himself is the eighth, and he's of the seventh, which is, again, he's of the Pope. And he's going into darkness, going into perdition. And this was fulfilled the following month. And this prophecy was fulfilled. So we see that Pope Francis fulfilled Revelation 17:11 as he's the eighth king, the beast of the sea, as his predecessor fulfilled verse 10 as he was the one who was there for a short time. So then we picked up where the pre-trib doctrine indicates everyone will be raptured in chapter 4, because John hears the voice come up here. So it's interpreted that the church will go up there too. Then we have the tribulation that's mentioned in these sequences of chapters here, from chapter 5 through 11, which goes off to explain the seals, and then in conclusion of the seal, and then introduction of the trumpets, and then the fifth and sixth trumpet, and the conclusion of the trumpets, chapter 11. And then we have this era which is called the wrath, or the wrath of God, which goes about talking about the bowls of wrath that's poured on the earth. But here we see chapter 17 that introduces Pope Francis as he fulfills verse 11. Now, we find that since Pope Francis fulfills chapter 17, well, then we move that up ahead of the verses, seeing that we're seeing this happening now. However, we don't see the events of the first and the sixth seal happening yet. So the Holy Spirit is teaching us that he can fulfill prophecy in any order that he wants. And we see that chapter 17 is happening now. However, the events of the first seal and all the seals hasn't happened yet. We haven't seen the events of the seals happen yet. So that tells us that 17 is happening as we speak, but we still have these other events that's supposed to happen later. And this also, again, debunks the pre-trib doctrine, because, again, if chapter 4, if the pre-trib doctrine was correct, chapter 4 would mean we're out of here and we should not be seeing any of this stuff. But as we can see, as the Holy Spirit is showing us, we see chapter 17 happening now, and we're still here. So that is not a fact anymore. Now, if we continue, let's see, well, how we supposed to understand the sequence of events as it pertains to the book of Revelation. Let's check this out. Now, the question is, well, how do you understand the events of the book of Revelation? Number one, watch how God fulfills the prophecy which sets the order. Watch how God fulfills the prophecy which sets the order. Now, if you go to the book of Matthew, you'll find that there was a prophecy mentioned about Jesus, and it was mentioned in Jeremiah. He spoke first about this particular prophecy as it pertained to Jesus' birth when he was baby Jesus. But that prophecy that Jeremiah said was fulfilled last, which pertained to the death of the firstborn, when King Herod went to go massacre all the kids under 2 years old. The second prophecy that came after Jeremiah was from Hosea. Hosea had a second prophecy pertaining to baby Jesus and the events of when he was a child. But that prophecy was fulfilled second, which was the flight to Egypt. And then we had the last prophecy, which was spoken by Micah. But Micah's prophecy pertaining to baby Jesus was fulfilled first. So what we see here is, as it pertained to prophecy, Jeremiah spoke first, Hosea spoke second, Micaiah spoke third. But look what the Holy Spirit did in terms of fulfilling it. What was spoken first was fulfilled last. What was spoken second fulfilled second. What was spoken last was fulfilled first. So the way in which the order was set was fulfilled opposite in the way in which the order was given. So the Holy Spirit is showing us here the way in which the prophecy was given does not dictate the order in which it will fulfill. So let me know what you think. This was definitely an eye-opener for me when the Lord gave me this revelation and gave me this new wine. So let me know what you think. Leave your comments below and tell me what your thoughts are, or if you have any question about it. I love to engage with you and have a conversation with you about it. And that is the same thing we see here happening in Revelation 17. We see these chapters outlining these prophecies that's going to happen, just like we saw Jeremiah, Hosea, and Micah also giving prophecies about Messiah, just like Revelations about prophecies about Messiah. However, when it came to the fulfillment of those prophecies, they happen in a different order, opposite order actually. So that gives us the precedent to understand that Revelation 17 can happen first before anything else, because that's what the Holy Spirit has already did, and that's what the Holy Spirit is currently showing us. So far we understand that precedent that yes, prophecy can happen out of order, and we need to, number one, watch prophecy fulfilled. The way in which we can understand the sequence of prophecy is by understanding the order in which it's fulfilled, because that brings clarity. Jesus did that his whole time when he walked the earth, brought clarity to prophecy. So now, let's look at another way in which we can understand the sequence of prophecy. So the second way we can understand the events of the book of Revelation is, number 2, when God sets the chronological order. See, when God sets the chronological order, then it's totally easy to understand the event in the way in which it will unfold. However, when we look at the example of baby Jesus again, Jeremiah spoke first, Hosea spoke second, Micaiah spoke third. It wasn't stated in the scriptures that what Jeremiah said would happen first. What Micaiah said, Hosea said happened second, and what Micaiah said would happen third. There's nothing in the scriptures that says that those events would happen in the way in the order which we given, which then gave the Holy Spirit the flexibility to fulfill them in the order in which God will, right? However, we do see that God does give us chronological order in the book of Revelation, and that chronological order is set, and we'll see how that, and in that term, in that context, we can then understand what will happen in chronological order, because God has given us the chronological order. So let's take a look at it so I can show you what I mean. So let's look at this. There's no confusion when it comes to the creation and what happened on the first day. We know the first day is the first day. We know what happened on the first day. Just like on the second day, we know what happened. Just like on the third day, we know what happened. And the fourth day, we know what happened. And the fifth day, we know what happened. And then on the sixth day, we know what happened. And the seventh day, we know what happened. So God has given us here chronological order. And with this chronological order that he's given us, we have no confusion to determine what happened first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh. With this being said, we have clarity in terms of the events that unfolded during the creation. If God would have just said he created the heavens, created the firmament, agriculture, sun, moon, living creatures, spiritual beings, and God rested, remember, on the sixth day, God created spiritual beings, but then in chapter 2, God then gave them bodies, like he molded man out of the dirt, and he brought Eve out of Adam's rib. But that's a totally different subject. Anyway, so the chronological order here gives us the understanding that when God sets the chronological order, we can then follow the events in the way in which they will unfold. Likewise, when we look at the book of Revelation, God gave us a chronological order as it pertains to the seals. First seal, second seal, third seal, fourth seal, fifth seal, sixth seal, seventh seal. Then we have the first trumpet, second trumpet, third trumpet, fourth trumpet, fifth trumpet, sixth trumpet, seventh trumpet. Then we have the first bowl, second bowl, third bowl, fourth bowl, fifth bowl, sixth bowl, seventh bowl. And look, we even have a first woe, second woe, and third woe. So what God has done is given us the chronological order to be able to understand the events in a way in which will unfold, so that we can then follow this mapping of how the events will unfold, because they will be centered around the chronological order he has already set, thereby understanding the way in which the events would unfold. And that's the way in which we can understand how the events will unfold and unravel, because they center around the chronological order he's already given us. Compared to chapter 17, which is not centered around these different chronological orders of first, second, third, fourth, etc. We have chapter 17 and a sequence of events. But what we do have is we see prophecy being fulfilled, and that event in that prophecy in chapter 17 is moved all the way up before the first seal. So now we can then take that, apply it to the chronological order, and see, okay, so we see that God has fulfilled this event, and it must fit between these chronological orders, these series of events, because this order we can trust because he said it. He set the order. And now all we have to do is watch how he fulfills it and make sure it fits within the framework that he's given us. And that's how we can understand the timing of the book of Revelation. So thanks for watching. Definitely like this video, leave me a comment, and also share this with other Christians so we can wake them up. And don't lose hope, folks, because remember, Jesus is coming.